Mindset shifts. That's a great question. The reality is that quitting your job is not an easy task. It's not an easy fit because it's a dog eat dog world out there. Things are really, really tough. So, the mindset shift you have to have is understanding that once you leave the workforce, trying to get another job, for example, is a full-time job, right? It's not something you should take lightly. It's not something you should take for granted because the reality is it's really competitive out there. So you need to move away from the mindset of, oh, I'm going to quit my job and then when I quit my job, I'll just get another job. No, you need to understand that getting another job is a full-time job on its own. And sometimes life doesn't quite happen the way we want or expect it to happen. So keeping those things in mind, I think will help you when you think or are thinking of quitting your job.
What kind of financial cushion should one have before quitting?
Oh, that's very simple. You should always have at least 6 months of funds available, or funds that can last you for at least 6 months. Set aside somewhere in an investment account, a savings account, easily liquefiable assets, etc. 6 months is the very minimum. Don't quit your job if you don't have 6 months salary set aside somewhere. You would be setting yourself up for failure. So I would say 6 months. Yeah.
What kind of clarity should you have about your next move?
The kind of clarity you should have is knowing exactly what you want. Why am I quitting this job? So for the most part, many of us quit our jobs because of lack of job satisfaction, poor working conditions, poor remuneration or employment packages, poor staff welfare, location, etc. There are a myriad of reasons why we quit our job. So once that has been established that these are the things I do not enjoy or like, I'm leaving this employment, or maybe even a toxic work environment, because we've heard so many instances where the employment or the organization is just very toxic. So those are the things you already know you do not want to deal with anymore. So certainly in your pursuit for another job, you have to ask these questions. You have to do your due diligence, find out what the new working environment or work culture is in the new organization you're intending to work for or work with. So once you have that in place, it makes it slightly easier to, migrate or port to the next job.
So we know that a lot of people, one of the many reasons they quit their job is because they want to go into entrepreneurship and they want to start a business. What advice do you have for those that are about to quit their job just because of a side hustle?
Don't quit your job for a side hustle. Don't quit your job for a side hustle. A side hustle is exactly what it is, a side hustle, right? Now, we've seen many instances where side hustles now take over and become your main hustle and even grows to become even something bigger than you ever imagined. That is great. That happens here and there. We've heard of many instances that has happened. But you're not quitting your job just because of a side hustle. You can run the two simultaneously. That is the reality. Is it going to be difficult? Yes. Is it going to stretch you? Yes. Are you going to want to quit or even quit a million times? Yes. However, if you don't have certain rudiments in place, for example, do you already have a customer base? Do you have a core culture? Do you have a strategy, especially for client acquisition? Do you have a retention strategy to retain the clients you've actually brought on board to the business? There's so many things it requires to run an actual business. So when you have that small side hustle that is adding a couple of thousands or 100,000 into your account, but you still have a full-time job, as long as it's not affecting your productivity on the full-time job, because you owe it to your employer who is paying you a good salary to provide services for the company and to develop the organization and to grow the organization. You owe it to them to make sure you're doing exactly what you're paid to do. So if that side hustle is now starting to encroach into your business, that might be indicative of the fact that the side hustle is starting to grow, right? And business is actually starting to boom. So you might at that point start to consider, okay, maybe I should actually leave this job, because you've seen the potential that one customer can give me twice my salary in one instance. Did it take a lot of hard work to acquire that customer? Yes. But if I remove the effort I'm putting into the 9 to 5 and I put that effort into the business, then yes, I can actually become a global mogul, right? From this side hustle. That side hustle can actually develop into an actual business for me. So yes, you have to really consider those things. It's not as straightforward or as linear as it seems or people make it sound. There are a lot of background things that people are not talking about. But I feel like if you're focused and you know exactly what you want and you can read between the lines to see that, man, this my side hustle is really growing at a fast exponential rate. I've put certain, things in place that will help this business. Then you can start to consider leaving that job for the side hustle, so to speak. But at that point, it's no longer a side hustle. It's now a growing and thriving business.
Thank you so much. What's your final advice?
My final advice is don't quit your job if you don't have a plan B. A structured plan B. That plan B could either be you've already started a business while you were running your 9 to 5, and that business has shown great potential. You've put certain strategies and policies in place to help the business grow. Or you already have an offer letter from another organization in your hand that has been signed and executed before resigning from that job. Because a lot of times we see people thinking that I'll just quit my job, I'll rest for like 3 weeks, and then I'll start looking for another job. You're setting yourself up for failure, ladies and gentlemen. Have the employment contract in your hand, signed and executed from the next job before you resign from this job. Let the new employer know that I'm still presently working. I need to give a 30, 60, 90-day notice period to leave my job. Otherwise, you can pay my salary in lieu of that. And I'm still very much committed to them for the next 3 months, pending when my last day arrives. So that way they also manage their expectations on when to expect you to resume the job and you're not under pressure to resign from the job. Once you have that offer letter in hand, you're good to go. Now, if you decide you're going into business, on the other hand, make sure some of the things I've said, you put them into practice and you actually implement them. Make sure the business has a strategy. Make sure it has structure. Make sure you've been able to actually run it simultaneously with the business. Make sure you've put certain indices and things in place to see that this business is going in this direction. These are my customer acquisition strategies. These are my employment strategies, and so on and so forth, and you'll be good to go. Don't resign a job without having a solid and structured plan B.